Guardian?
Eyesupsaf.
Eyes up, YouTube. We got another build for you guys today, and today we are going back to the good old Swarmers. Now, the video that you guys are seeing in the background right now is one of the two builds that we have for you guys today. It's the prismatic version of this build, which is absolutely insane, but you can also run this with just straight Strand. We are doing -40 content here, and you guys can see it just absolutely wrecks and demolishes everything. Well, as you guys can see from that gameplay, it absolutely destroys. And like I said, we got a 2-in-1 build for you guys today. So we made this build on Prismatic because personally, I feel like Prismatic just offers a little bit more survivability when it comes to Swarmers. But with the change that they made to Weave Walk, that also gives a lot of survivability on the Strand build. So we're going to go over both of these builds. We're going to start with the Prismatic version, and going into the subclass for the Prismatic version, we are running Phoenix Dive because we can get this back insanely fast, as you saw in the video, and we can just continue to use Weaver's Call over and over and over with Phoenix Dive. We are also using Arcane Needle, and we're using Threadling Grenade to just lean into the fantasy for our Threadlings even more. Your super really doesn't matter as much here. I was using Needle Storm in the video just to gain Woven Mail with Facet of Purpose. However, I do prefer using Song of Flame, so you can use either or. In terms of our aspects, we are running Feed the Void for that insane survivability, as well as Weaver's Call to activate our threadlings when we use our class ability. For our fragments, we're currently using Facet of Sacrifice. So while we have an Arc, Solar, or Void buff, our ability Final Blows grant Darkness Transcendence. We're always going to have Radiant with this build up, so this allows us to get the Transcendence energy on our Darkness and our meter filled up pretty quick. We're using Facet of Purpose, so every time we pick up an Orb of Power, we do gain Woven Mail, or if you choose to use Song of Flame, you gain Restoration. We're using Facet of Protection. We're also using Facet of Devotion, so defeating targets afflicted with a Stasis or Strand debuff grants Light Transcendence energy. And then of course we're using Facet of Mending, so our Grenade Final Blows cure us, just adds a little bit more layer of protection with the build, but you can switch this one out. This is completely interchangeable. I think once we move out of this current artifact, I'd probably go with Facet of Dawn, so that way we can get Radiant from our melee hits. Now that's the prismatic version of the build. I'll have both of them linked in the description below for the dim link, so you guys can choose which one you want to play with. But the other version of the build is running straight Strand as the subclass. Now with this particular version of the build, like I said, it lacks a little bit more of that survivability, and there's a few other things that you have to do in order to gain that survivability, which is why I personally prefer the prismatic version of this build, because it's just a simple and easy gameplay loop. But with this version of the build, we are running Healing Rift. You can use Empowering Rift if you want to, because of the changes that they made to Empowering Rift, which gives you the ability regeneration if you stand inside of it. But in all honesty, after playing and testing this build out for as long as I have, you don't really stand in your Empowering Rift very often, especially in harder endgame content, because you're just going to get destroyed. So I prefer to use Healing Rift. Of course, we're using Arcane Needle and Threadling Grenade. All right, so for our aspects, we're running Weave Walk as well as Weaver's Call. Weave Walk helps a lot with the survivability of this build. It's kind of like a oh crap button you can press, and then it also gives you perched threadlings when you use it. For our fragments, we're running Thread of Evolution, so threadlings travel further and deal additional damage. Thread of Generation, so we can get our grenade energy back quicker. We're also using Thread of Isolation, so rapid precision hits emit a severing burst from the target. And then of course we're also running Thread of Transmutation, so we're going to have Woven Mail quite a bit with Weave Walk up. So when we do have Woven Mail, our weapon Final Blows create tangles. And then we also have Thread of Fury. When we damage those tangles, we gain melee energy. So that just helps a lot with us getting back our melee charges, so we can rinse and repeat our Weave Walk to get the perched threadlings and activate our Woven Mail. Now, regardless of which build you pick, most of the mods are the same. And I'm going to have, like I said, the dim link up for both of these, but I'm just going to go over the prismatic version of this. We have Special Ammo Finder, Solar and Strand Dual Siphon, as well as Radiant Light. On our arms, we have 2 fire powers, as well as a harmonic loader. On our chest piece, we are running a Solar and a Strand ammo generation mod, so that way we can lean into the weapon stat and make sure that our main use weapon always has ammo. And we're also using 1 resistance. You can change this based off of the activity that you're running, if you need to use Solar, Void, Arc, or even Melee, Concussive Dampener, whatever the case is. For our boots, we are currently running Better Already, as well as 2 Strand weapon surges. Your weapon surges you can switch out based off of the weapons that you decide to use in this build. And then for our bond, we're using Time Dilation, Powerful Traction, and Reaper. This entire build is based off of using your class ability as much as you possibly can, so having Reaper is just a great way to create orbs. Now, in terms of the stat distribution for this build, for the prismatic version, I definitely went with 120 grenades so I can get my grenade back as quickly as possible. I have 96 class. I do want to bump this up to 100, so I'll probably add a class font to this build. And in this build, we're also using 153 weapon stat. I think 150 weapon is more than enough because you have a 50% chance of the large ammo bricks, which is really great. And I want to lean into the new Malpays exotic from the Battle Pass, because this works insanely well in this build and it hits like a freaking truck. I didn't think Mint Retrograde would ever take a back seat, but oh my god, this thing is insane. If you guys haven't tried it out yet, it's absolutely busted. And then we're also using Yurtide Apex, but this is really your choice. You could use the new Drang sidearm if you want to, the Mida multi-tool. You could use double special, go return to memory if you want to. Any solar weapon here works really well because of Cauterized Darkness, so you can use whatever you want. And then for our heavy, I was just using the sword to get around, but you can also use Outrageous Fortune. You could use the new Strand rocket launcher if you want to, if you have a good roll. This thing actually rolls with Hatchling, which could be really good. You can use Envious Assassin with Hatchling if you want to, so that's also another option. Now, I said we were going to talk about a game-breaking bug. You guys have probably heard of this by now, but Sturm is broken currently. So if you use Sturm and Drang with this build, your Threadlings go insanely high for damage. So for those of you who haven't heard about the bug, essentially, if you use Drang, you secure a kill and you get an overcharge for Sturm. You only need one overcharge. You can get as many as you want, but it doesn't change the damage. You only need one overcharge. And if you get that one overcharge, you get an insane damage boost on your abilities right now. And I'm 100% sure this is bugged, and I'm 100% sure this is going to get fixed, which is why I didn't use it in the video, because I wanted to show you the raw power of the build without the bug. But with the bug, holy crap. If you guys aren't using it right now, I would 100% say go use it, because this thing is broken, just completely broken. I did firing range testing on this, and my normal Threadlings were doing 400 damage in the firing range. And then when I put Sturm on with an overcharge shot, they were doing 1400 damage. They got an extra 1000 damage just from this bug, which is just absolutely insane. Now, going into our artifact mod, with the new season, there were some additions to the artifact that makes this just absolutely insane. So I'm just going to go over some of the repeat offenders and then some of the new ones that we put in here. So of course we are using Fever and Chill. We're also using Threaded Blast. We're destroying a ton of tangles, so we get the increased radius, explosion, and damage from our tangle bursts, as well as creating 2 Threadlings per tangle that we break. Cauterized Darkness is perfect. We get that extra solar damage. Elemental Daze, I love this thing. I'm never going to take it off. One of the new ones that we're using is Threadling Proliferation. So dealing Strand weapon damage has a chance to spawn a Threadling, and defeating Strand debuff targets increases that chance. So it actually allows us to create more Threadlings by using Threadling Proliferation. Then we're also using Pack Tactics. Dealing damage with Threadlings increase the Threadling damage, and at maximum stacks, you can stun unstops with this. I don't know what the maximum stacks is because it doesn't tell you on the sign. It just says you have Pack Tactics active. But when I use one class ability, I can stun unstoppable champions. And then we are using Shield Crush because since we have Woven Mail active because of our super and picking up orbs, we get increased melee recharge. And then since we have Radiant all the time because of the Yurtide Apex that we're running, then we get Grenade recharge. So it just helps to feed into our ability regeneration. And then I decided to use Tangled Web, so creating a tangle by defeating a Strand debuff target suspends nearby combatants. I will say this though, I might change this out for something like Elemental Overdrive, just because I'm killing things so fast that they don't get suspended. If you find you're having that problem, I would switch Tangled Web for Elemental Overdrive because I think it would just work a lot better in that regards. So this is completely up to you. I know I made a Swarmers build about a month back, and then Bungie released that they were going to make these changes to Threadlings and increase the damage, and I was like, man, we really have to revisit it. Holy smokes, this thing is really good. And whichever one you decide to use, whether you decide to go with the Prismatic version or whether you decide to go with the straight Strand version, I mean, it's honestly just really, really good. I would definitely tell you guys to try it out. Let me know how you like it in the comment section below. Also, if you guys haven't subscribed yet, please go ahead and do so. I appreciate all the support. We hit 500 subscribers, which is absolutely insane for me. Thank you guys so much for that. Also, we are creating a Discord community. I'll leave the link of the Discord channel in the description below. So if you guys want to join the Discord community, you're more than welcome to do so. We play all the time. I usually shout out in the Discord when I'm going to go live. And also if I'm looking for a fire team or if you guys want a fire team to play with, more than welcome to do that as well. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you. Goodbye.